Um, Welcome back to my channel. It's been a while. Welcome back to myself as well, because I haven't been on here for like months. I think it's been like 3 months. Wow. Pretty much ever since quarantine started. I actually have not been at home. And fortunately, I kept working. I do work in health. I work at a hospital. So actually, I kept working throughout the pandemic. So, and I'm still working full time. So it was kind of like hard to come on camera and record videos. I pretty much would come home and I'll be like just burnt out. Plus, with all recent events, it's been even harder to kind of like find that kind of mental space to be able to sit down and record videos. And at the same time, I couldn't come back to my channel and just be like, hey guys, blah, 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 like without addressing what's currently going on in the world besides the COVID pandemic. There's also issues with police brutality and just the constant discrimination and just the constant diminishing and belittling of Black lives is just so draining and just so frustrating that it has to get to these extremes for things to change. Oh, also sorry if you hear the fan in the background. It's literally hot as hell on August 15th in my room, and so please bear with the sound of the fan in the background. Also, I couldn't place my little usual backdrop behind me to like kind of cover the mess in the background, because you know I need the fan to like be able to like film this video while sitting in front of the camera. So yeah, today is very casual. I'm pretty much going to do like my evening skincare routine while as I pretty much vent about current events. So as I said, it's just very upsetting to see what is going on in the world. And the Black Lives Matter movement, it's an important movement, and I can already hear the people typing, all lives matter, not just Black lives. Yes, no one is saying that all lives matter is not important, but right now Black Lives Matter, it's pretty much what is the most targeted right now. Like Black lives are the ones that are the most in danger right now. There's the analogy going around of if there's a neighborhood and a house is on fire, the firemen are not going to go to all the houses. They're going to go to the one that is on fire and take care of that one. Does that mean that the other houses are not as important? No, it just means that right now that's where our priority and that's where our focus needs to be until all the houses are back to normal. Does that make sense? There's also the analogy of if you have 5 children and one of them gets stung by a bee, do you give a band-aid to all of your children? No, you give a band-aid to the one that's been stung by a bee. The Black Lives Matter is not about telling people that black lives are more important. It's just a way of saying that we have a track record of our lives being considered lesser than, and we just want to be considered as equals to everybody else. That's all it means. I don't see why it is so hard to understand it. It's honestly kind of beyond me. Sorry if I seem a little bit all over the place. I don't really have a script or anything prepared. I'm just kind of like going with the flow and whatever comes to mind. So yeah, if I kind of am all over the place, I'm sorry in advance. Black Lives Matter is not some cute social media trend, okay? Because I see people like posting the little like Black Lives Matter and the little like black squares on Instagram, and then that's it, that's all. Like it doesn't end there. When you log off Instagram, when you log off social media, you need to keep that same energy outside. When you walk out that door, you need to keep that same level of energy. And right now, you can't blame not knowing something on ignorance or not being exposed to certain things, because right now we have so many tools that we can use to educate ourselves, that if you don't get educated, if you don't educate yourself, it's pretty much on you. You could literally just open any electronic device. You could take your phone, you could take, as long as you have a electronic device with an internet connection, you can pretty much educate yourself to at least the bare minimum to know what is going on. Because I feel like a lot of people, well, not a lot of people, but I feel like people could use the excuse that, oh, I didn't know this was going on, or I don't know, they just kind of like blame on not knowing, which it's possible, but at the same time, there are resources out there, there are tools. All you need to do is just, you need to be willing to find them. And they're pretty much readily available. They're not hidden, they're not hard to find. It just takes a simple Google search sometimes. I've even seen posts from people. There was one TikTok, there was like a TikTok video of a guy saying that he learned more on social media about Black Lives Matter and about the history of black people than he ever did throughout his education system in schools. And that kind of like struck a chord with me, because it's true. Like, no one talked much, if at all, about black history, and it's such an important part of history, especially in American history, where it needs to be taught. It needs to be taught to children and kids in schools all over the world, if anything. But America to start with, because that's where it has the most impact, I feel like. But I mean, there's also like so much good that I've seen coming out of the Black Lives Matter movement. So many people just, coming together and seeing that what's happening is not right. And and as much as it is sad that it had to take such an extreme circumstance to wake some people up, I can't ignore the amount of support that has been pretty much pouring from all over the world, and people just coming together and standing up for what's right, and there you go. Speaking of standing up, rIVerse, there's a group on YouTube. They do, if you're into K-pop like myself, you may know about rIVerse Live. That's their channel name on YouTube. I will link them down below. They actually recently released a song called Stand Up, and it's pretty much an anthem for like people to come together and speak up, stand up for what's right, stand up for calling out injustice, stand up for people that are in need. Don't just sit by, because I feel like so far the world has been in kind of this bystander effect kind of like situation. So we don't want this bystander mentality. We need to take action, and we need to stand up. This is pretty much the message that it's coming out of the rIVerse song, and it's honestly, you need to listen to it. As I said, it will be linked in the description down below. I may even put a little snippet in this video.
Stand up, motherfuckers. 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 Yes, it's time to grandstand before you Japan. We got a problem with the man. Why he really mad? Okay, okay now. She on that childish glowing now. No play, don't play with my child. Future at risk, yes, put these clowns banging up.
But definitely check them out. They're just such a real and positive group of people, and they're fellow Canadians like myself. So I'm just really happy to be able, to support them in any way I can. And if you're interested, they also do K-pop reaction videos. So definitely give their channel a chance. And I was actually, they were having a Instagram live was it yesterday? No, 2 days ago, where they were pretty much hosting this live to talk about their new song release. And I was actually able to talk with them live. They invited me, and I was able to speak to them, and it was actually really cool to be able to connect with someone that I pretty much usually just see through a screen. Well, I usually just see them as they react to videos, but this time I was actually able to connect with them, and not only to talking to them, but connecting with them on such a deep issue and such a relevant issue. And it was really cool to have this opportunity, and they're honestly they're just so cool, and they're just check them out. Do yourself a favor, check them out. You're welcome. Also, Diz, I don't know if you're gonna end up watching this video, because I saw during the live that you mentioned that you are kind of the member of rIVerse that gets pretty much put in on the back burner, if that makes sense. But I do see you, and I do appreciate whatever you do for rIVerse and for pretty much our entertainment, and how you are so passionate about what you do. Actually, I think, I don't know how long ago that was. I think this was before the pandemic, that you guys were in the studio recording new songs, and I think you were hosting a live on YouTube, I believe it was. And I don't know, just seeing that behind the scenes of rIVerse recording their new song, and I could see like Diz sitting along with the producer just to work on their song and like give pointers and everything. It just shows how much, it just kind of like showed me how much input and how much work goes behind your craft, basically. And yeah, I do appreciate your work along the other members of rIVerse, Khadijah, Monroe, and Zach. I appreciate every single one of you, but I just wanted to give like a quick shout out to my brother Diz. So yeah, you are appreciated. I don't know, social media is just so powerful these days, and I think there's like this Will Smith quote. What is happening right now that we are all able to see on social media, it was still happening before. It's just that before there were not the same amount of cameras able to record all the events. And social media is so powerful in this sense, because it's kind of like a double-edged sword, because there's so many bad things that can happen on social media, but at the same time there's so much of the truth, and there's so much good that can come out of it. And I hear people saying that social media is bad. Social media is not bad. Social media is a tool. It's how you use that tool that will make a difference and that will make an impact. If you use social media to bring people down, to just spread negativity, of course it's going to be bad. But at the same time, if you use social media to elevate people that don't have voices, if you use your platform on social media, your presence on social media to make a positive impact, to bring light on these type of events, or any type of event, if anything, then social media is bad. It's kind of like a knife. If there's a knife on a table, a knife is just there on the table. It's not gonna cut somebody on its own. It's going to be good or bad depending on how you use that knife. When you pick up that knife, you could, I don't know, you could cut vegetables with it and make yourself a meal, and it's going to be for your sustenance. But if you use that knife to harm somebody, that is going to be bad. But the knife in itself is nor good nor bad. And speaking of like coming back to the topic of K-pop, I told you this video was going to be all over the place. I warned you, didn't I? At the beginning of the video, I did. When there was a Blackout Tuesday on social media, when we were posting our little cute little black squares, the next day people were like going like, oh, all lives matter, or like white lives matter Wednesday or some shit like that. And the K-pop stans were like, oh, so you're trying to make some tomfoolery happen and take the attention away from what's actually important these days? Not today, Satan. And they were pretty much using the White Lives Matter or like Blue Lives Matter hashtag on Wednesday just to spam K-pop fan cams, and that just made my day. It just pretty much confirmed to me that there is hope for humanity. All the posts were pretty much like, it was like, oh, you thought you were gonna come here and be like insensitive about posting about like, you know, Blue Lives Matter, like White Lives Matter. Here, watch a fan cam of Jungkook instead, or like here, enjoy some NCT. Like, you know, it was so cool, it was so funny, and it trended. It trended. Like, K-pop stans are, they can be scary sometimes, but when they like band together for the same cause, oof, you better watch out. Like, I'm like talking so much, I'm like forgetting to do my skincare at the same time. I do feel that we do get a bad rep because of what goes on mainstream social media, mainstream news outlets. Like, for example, even during these protests, for example, they're gonna take images of looters and possibly black looters, if at that, and say that that's what's going on. Like, people that are claiming to protesting for Black Lives Matter, that's what they're doing. They're looting stores, they're burning stores and small businesses, when that's not what is happening. They're not showing all the peaceful protests. There's so many beautiful protests that I see. There's like people that protest in silence. They just walk down the streets and with their fists raised, or they lay down on the ground in sign of peaceful protest. Or some people even dance. They put music and they just dance. They just come together and dance. But mainstream media is not going to show you that. They're just going to show you the looters. They're going to show you the pretty much people that are vandalizing just to push a certain narrative, which is wrong. This is not what mainstream media should be doing. As a news outlet, you should just report on what's going on. If you want to speak of the truth, you need to speak of 100% of the truth, not just what's convenient and what is going to push your narrative. But yeah, when you're on social media or when you watch mainstream media and mainstream news outlets, make sure to have some critical thinking. Make sure you see beyond and read in between the lines, because if we just passively just sit and just being spoon-fed what mainstream media tells us, of course we're going to develop, first of all, we're going to have zero critical thinking, and two, we're never going to be able to make our own opinions on things. We need to have that level of, okay, is this what is actually happening? Is there anything more that is happening? Am I actually seeing the bigger picture, or am I only seeing part of a situation through a keyhole? Does that make sense? And again, like, one thing that kind of got me thinking is like, K-pop uses a lot of black elements. There's K-pop producers, K-pop companies, in choreographies, in music. Black culture is pretty much consumed and pretty much exploited even by everyone, and that's where the double standard comes in. For example, if a black person does braids, they can lose their job, or they can get kicked out of class or even school for having protective hairstyles. But if, I don't know, if your favorite, I don't know, social media icon has braids, then it's considered cool, it's considered trendy. But if we do it, it's like it's considered like dirty, and we get kicked out of schools, we don't get accepted at jobs. And it's like, what? Like, there is just so much wrong. There's just so much that doesn't make sense to me. There's even a post, I saw a post on social media, I saw a post on Instagram by Shocked with Soju. Soju is a Korean drag queen. She's pretty much Korean American, I believe. that they posted on social media on their Instagram page a letter that they wrote to the major K-pop companies, saying that, you know, K-pop, as I said just now, K-pop uses so many elements from black culture. So why in these moments where black culture is pretty much stomped on, you guys are not coming out and speaking up? Because you can't just take from another culture, and then when this culture is getting shit on pretty much, y'all are just, you know, crickets. I'm gonna, if I can, I'm gonna put a screenshot of that post, because it's really cool, and I feel like I can't really explain it properly, so it's best to read it for yourself to kind of get what I mean. So I'll put it, I'll put probably a screenshot over here. With that being said, there have been artists that have Korean artists and K-pop artists that have spoken up, that have seen that what's going on is wrong. And before anyone says that maybe in Korea they're not aware of they are aware. I've been shown interviews and protests and everything, that even in South Korea, which is making me happy, because in South Korea people are protesting as well for the Black Lives Matter movement. And it's honestly amazing to see, because I feel like, especially in East Asian countries, they usually don't really meddle when it comes to Western issues. But the fact that they also decided to speak up, that part of the population has decided to speak up, it's also very powerful to me. So yeah, I do appreciate everyone that is standing up for a right cause. And as I said, there's been K-pop artists and K-hip-hop artists, like for example J Park has spoken up, Jackson from GOT7, Mark from GOT7, I think Yu-Gyum also from GOT7, who else? I think Crush too. Oh my gosh, I love Crush so much, and I love Jackson so much, but that's besides the point. They have spoken up, and that's why I'm saying I'm standing the right people. I have good taste in men. Just kidding. Yeah, and I'm glad to see that prominent figures in K-pop are actually speaking up, you know. Now I just mentioned a few, there's actually there's actually a bunch more, but you know, there's always room for improvement, in my opinion, when it comes to these type of issues. And I do agree that also not a lot of idols are able to speak freely. They're not really allowed to post, especially when it comes to social issues. Their companies pretty much tell them, you guys are here to just do music, make sales, pretty much. Don't get in anything that is like controversial or political. But then again, like, you know, think about it. Your favorite idols like to name drop all their favorite like black artists. It's like, oh, I like Beyonce, or like, I don't know, I like I don't know, Drake, I like Jay-Z, I like Usher, whatever, Nicki Minaj. I don't know, I feel like it's just so common for people to, like, you know, name drop their favorite black artists, and that's it. They don't bother going beyond that. They don't bother discovering more of the culture. And there's so much to black culture, and there's something I admire about black culture in general, because after a track record of constant oppression and exploitation, we just keep thriving the best we can given our circumstances, even though we're when the world pretty much tries to push us down. We just manage to thrive in one way or another, and we just manage not completely lose our spirits. And usually for us it's through the arts, and black excellence is a thing, people. we just need to recognize and acknowledge our brothers and sisters that like are studying hard in school, that are trying their best to make to do good with what they have and chase their dreams, whether it be in school, whether it be through their career as doctors or lawyers, or as artists, as I don't know, as painters, as musicians, as actors. There's just so much black excellence, and we need to acknowledge that. You know, at the end of the day, this is just the start, and things are looking up, even though right now there's still a lot of injustices going on despite everything that has been revealed. And I'm very well aware that racism is not gonna go away overnight. It's going to take a whole lot more, but I feel like we're moving in the right direction, and I feel like mindsets are changing, and ideas are changing, and more people are seeing that what is going on is so deeply rooted into the system that we need a complete overhaul of the justice system, the education system, even like the residential system and everything. It needs to be completely overhauled, and we're moving in the right direction. I want to keep faith and keep hope that we are going to be okay at the end of the day. It may take a year, may take 2, 5, 10, but we're gonna get there. I think it's a marathon, it's not a sprint race, so slow and steady wins the race. So if you're out there and you're currently fighting for Black Lives Matter and social injustice in general, please don't give up. Don't let this be just a social media trend. Please keep fighting and standing up for what's right, because racism shouldn't be the rule. It should be the exception. It shouldn't be the norm for black people to fear walking down the street. It shouldn't be the norm for black people to, have it 10 times harder. We should all be given the same opportunities, and it shouldn't be harder for a certain group to achieve their goals. Change is happening, and for change to happen, we need to get uncomfortable. We can't stay comfortable in our ignorance, or we can't stay comfortable in not being educated. We need to educate ourselves, and we need to create the change, because change is not gonna happen by itself. We need to be the catalyst of that change, and I feel like our generation, my generation, is going to be that change. We're gonna get there. I'm putting it out in the universe that we're gonna get there. And yeah, just another thing I want to add, that Black Lives Matter is it's not just the extreme case of a black person losing their life to police brutality. Black Lives Matter is such a wide spectrum that cannot be ignored. Black Lives Matter is not just George Floyd losing his life by a police officer pressing his knee on his neck. It's not just Breonna Taylor getting shot in her own home for no reason. It's not just that. Black Lives Matter is kids getting kicked out of schools or classes for having protective hairstyles, for having box braids. Black Lives Matter is people not being able to get jobs because they're black. Black Lives Matter is getting stopped by a police officer just because you're black. Black Lives Matter is not being able to access good health care because you're black. Invalidating black lives and black opportunities just for a pigment in our skin. And that's wrong. And Black Lives Matter, it just includes so many different people, because Black Lives Matter is not just us cisgenders or straight people. It's also members of the LGBTQ plus community, our trans black brothers and sisters out there, they're also fighting the same fight. On top of being black, they also have their sexual orientation or their gender identity that also places a stigma on them, and that's not right. So if you're fighting for Black Lives Matter, you also need to fight for them. You need to fight for everyone, because you cannot say Black Lives Matter by completely disregarding a whole group that are included in Black Lives Matter. And all lives matter is true, but all lives matter only when also Black Lives Matter. I think that's pretty much all I can say in this video. Feels good to finally let it out somehow. If you have listened until the end, I thank you and I appreciate you, and please do consider donating and signing petitions. And Breonna Taylor's police officers have not been arrested yet, so what's up with that? There's just so much that is going on. Like, I feel like I could sit in front of this camera for another like 3 hours and I wouldn't be able to cover everything I want to cover. But there's many ways that you can support the Black Lives Matter movement. You can sign petitions. You can watch. There's actually videos that you can watch. I will link a video down below. It's a video that you can contribute to the Black Lives Matter movement just by watching this video, because all the money and the profit that is being made from the monetization of that video, it will be donated to organizations that support Black Lives Matter. So I will link that video down below. I think it's like an hour long, and it has ads in it. So please do not skip the ads. If that's a way to contribute, if you currently don't have the monetary funds to donate, you can do that. So yeah, I will link a couple things down below, a couple ways that you can contribute to this good cause. And yeah, I will catch you guys in my next video. Bye.